6 o'clock on Thursday, April 8th. I called the Finance Committee open.
Okay, terrific. So Karen, if you're okay with it, I'll start and kind of go over what I sent everybody and what my suggestions were. I sent to everybody an updated document. I sent to all you guys, remember, original kind of reduction of the deficit, and sent you a number of items. Based upon our last meeting, there was some discussion about me talking to different department heads and bringing forward some potential cuts. I completely updated this sheet and have listed a whole bunch of potential cuts. I literally spent the last day and a half meeting with individual department heads to go through their budgets, and we made cuts. Now, I do want to make it clear that nobody recommends these cuts. Not the department heads, not me, but the reality is we have to cut because of the deficit. So regardless if we like it or don't like it, we have to do something to get this deficit down. I'm sorry. So anyway, what I would propose.
I would add the Finance Committee is not interested in making the cuts.
I don't talking. Is that you, Peter?
Ted just said that he wants to make sure you add that the Finance Committee doesn't want to make these cuts either. It's just a requirement.
No, and let me be really clear. Nobody wants to make these cuts. Every one of us hates them. I hate them. I'm sure the Finance Committee hates them. The reality is we have to do something because we have a huge deficit. So I want to put that on the record for all of us before we move forward, because a lot of the cuts that are on here today are getting more painful. And quite frankly, as you will see, if you look at the end of the day, and the last thing I gave it, even with all these cuts, the deficit, while down from $1,095,892 down to $253, as bad as these cuts are, the next cuts to get us down under 253 are going to be way worse and a lot harder. So these cuts, while difficult, aren't as bad as what I think is coming on our next round of this. What I would propose, unless other members have a list of things that they want to propose, I would propose we go line item by line item through this and start voting to advise these, to recommend these cuts. So you've got a long list of things. Let's go one at a time. If you have questions on the items, I'm happy to answer them and explain what those cuts are. But I think we need to take action tonight and actually start voting to make some of these cuts.
Well, these are from the.
Yes, that was what we left on Tuesday.
I'm sorry. Pete and Karen, you're both speaking at the same time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Karen.
The homework was for all of us Finance Committee members to go home and do homework and get it matched. So what is the pleasure of the board?
I appreciate a lot of hard work. I think that we could also go through some of ours now. We're still 271,000 away,
Yep.
253,000 away, and I found some bigger ones out there that I'd like to recommend.
Okay.
Darren,
Number one, the town clerk.
Yes, Ron.
no, I was just going to ask Darren if you wanted to go through the big
What's the
one
matter?
first, or go through his first. How does he want to do it?
Well, that's all right. Whatever you'd like to do.
Well, I'm hoping that the cuts that you have are different than the cuts that I have, because it'll help us cut from the 253 that's left. But I guess I would ask if it's okay with the chair if we literally start at line one, go through the cuts. If there's discussion has to be cuts, and then vote each cut, and let's just line up cuts and try to reduce this deficit. And then, Darren, if you have different cuts than what I have, or the same cuts, speak up on that cut and let us know. Does that make sense?
Why don't we start with, let's start from the top and we can go through yours, and then everyone can chime in if they have something else for that same department, and we can keep going down that way.
Yep, that works.
All right, terrific. So the first thing is
Ron, before you start, just one quick question.
Yeah.
Okay, we're starting with your 6-page item, right? We're starting with that list.
Yep.
Thank you.
But Tom, as we go through each individual item, the chair is suggesting you chime in if you have the same cut or some
Yes.
variation.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay, I just
So-
want to make sure we're on the same sheets,
Right.
that's all.
Yep, so I'm gonna say what the first cut is, but then somebody's gonna have to move the cut, second the cut, and then there can be discussion on it, okay? So
We
the
don't-
first,
Ron, we don't have to do it that way. We can just say, is everyone in agreement? We don't have to make a motion and all of that. We put it in and we vote on the budget as a whole at the end.
okay, I'm sorry, that's usually not the way committee process work, but if that you guys are comfortable with it, fine. I just wanted to make sure that everybody's on the same page and we all agree to whatever the cut is, because some people may agree with the cut and others may not. That's why you usually vote, because it's usually done by like majority agreement if they agree to the cut or not. That's why I would think a vote would be necessary, Karen, but I'm willing to follow whatever you want.
So Ron, the only question that I had was, are these suggestions coming from the department heads themselves?
So I want to be careful with the way I say this. I called every department head and asked them to give me cuts to their budget and told them it was $1,095,000. They want to make sure that I make it clear to the finance board. These are cuts they feel they had to give me because we had to make cuts, but they don't support this stuff because they think all this stuff should be funded. I will stress a couple of areas where particular departments were like unhappy about the cut, but I asked them essentially to give me cuts, and this is what we discussed and put onto the thing. Every one of them knows about these cuts. Okay.
Are they prepared to make a impact statement on what it means to make these cuts?
And you know what, Pete, that's a great thing, because that's what I said to them. I said, you guys have to get up at town meeting and talk to the people about what these cuts impact you, and they agreed that they would do that. But I will also say, they think like I think that that's too late to try to educate the people at town meeting. Some of them suggested I call the newspaper and tell them to call the department head so they could suggest now to the public what the impact of those cuts are, because they don't feel we should wait to town meeting. But I haven't figured out exactly how we do that with the media, but that's how strongly they feel that this whole cut process is damaging to their departments. Does that make sense?
Discussion prior that should happen, and in past years there have been informational meetings about the budget that have happened prior to where we lay that out. So once we have these laid out, then that would be an extremely prudent move, in my opinion.
I think, I tell you, I would support a finance committee public hearing to go through all this and open it up to the public. I just hope that with this Zoom stuff, we can actually get people to attend. But if we get a newspaper article about these cuts, maybe then people will kind of get involved and start understanding what we're going through here. So I'm for it if the chair would like to, after we're done
Ron?
here. Yep,
Ron?
yep.
Okay, what would be really prudent is if we could get something in writing from, once we've made all these cuts this evening, regardless of which cuts get made, whatever. We go back to the departments, they could write up exactly what it is. I think it's important not only to put it in the newspaper, but also on the town website and
Yep.
every which way we can, Facebook pages, whatever that we've got to get it out there.
I can't agree with you more. I think we need to do it. Frankly, I think my budget presentation should have been already up on the website so people can see and understand what we're dealing with, because this is huge. This is a huge problem. But anyway, we can discuss that. Let's go through the cuts and then we'll go from there. The first cut is the Massachusetts assessment. This is a cut that was made by the school system. They originally came in with $900 and something thousand. This reduction is a result of the school system's cut. So do we want to move forward with that recommendation, at least for now, so that I can tell the town accountant that, yeah, we support this cut? So I think that what I would say is let's just do a motion second and vote to approve it. This is an easy one.
Why are we starting there?
The first one on the list. What do you guys,
We've
what's your
already
pleasure?
done that.
Yeah, this is.
Hasn't the school committee already approved that?
The school committee has put this on. All I'm trying to do is go through this $1,095,000 so we can give it to the town accountant to make these adjustments. So you're correct. That's why I say this is an easy one. We're just agreeing that this is the number we're using for now. That's all we're doing.
I would say
That's
that I agree that this is a noble user for now, but I would think that that cut would be better if it was drastically more than that, but that's my comment.
And Tom, I agree with you, and we got to come back to that at the end of
No,
this.
no, I understand that, but you just want a point to start from. I agree with this cut for right now, but I wish it was drastically more than that so that we can move on, is right.
And I talked to the town attorney about that issue today. So at the end of this, I want to talk about what the attorney told me about that as well. So that is you'll see education is last on this list for that very reason. We need to discuss how we go forward with potentially cutting the education budget. Is that okay? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
I would agree with everything on the first page.
Okay, so I don't care if you want to make a motion to adopt everything on the first page. That'll save us time.
Ron, that's not how things get done.
Okay, do it, Karen. Do it whatever you way I want. That's the way I know on every committee I've ever served on. But if you want to do it some other way, by all means, I'm willing to follow.
I've been doing this for 9 years in the town of Rutland. Please,
Okay.
let's not argue. We're gonna all agree at the end of this evening. We're the ones that put up the recommendations, so that's our motion.
But what if some individual member wants to vote or not support a cut? How does that occur?
That is correct, and that will all be part of the discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Then whatever you like to do, I'll answer any questions that the board has.
Okay.
So we have the 20,076 minus the 42,157, which is the $62,000 for the health insurance.
Okay,
We have,
Where are you?
the revenue.
Are you?
there,
I'm looking at the first page of what I gave you. Where are you?
right after Wachusett assessment is health, dental, FSA from 316 of 20,076.
All right, that's not a revenue. I just confused by the revenue thing. That's a reduction of the expense because this was originally Maya's first estimate was like 9-point-something%. Then they lowered it down to 6.8%, and that's the savings from that first reduction that Maya gave us.
Right. So the 20,076 is a reduction plus the reduction of the 42,157, which all hits the health insurance.
That is correct. That's why the account numbers are there. Yep.
Right? Okay. So now we go up to RDIC.
Okay. You want to do new growth or you want to skip new growth?
Karen, I have a question.
Okay.
Under the health and dental, I believe the document that we saw was, it said that Becky had put in there for 2 additional families as a cushion. 2 family plans, I think is what it said.
Yep.
Is there any reason why that value couldn't be taken out of there also? And if there is a new requirement for a new employee during the year, we can go to the reserve fund or something to give the money for that?
So the answer to that question is there's always 2 put in that account, but this is not necessarily about new employees. And you wouldn't have a lot of money from reserve to take it out of, but this could be, I purchased a single plan. My wife got laid off. Now I need to put a family plan on my health insurance. So that's changes all throughout the year. She puts in those 2 extras every year because that's a way for her to adjust for any changes that individuals make every time an employee makes during the year. It's not necessarily new employees now.
I understand that, and we've talked about this in years past. I'm just asking, is there some value there to maybe have that? Was one spot I saw that maybe we could take that value out and save a little more money there for right now.
The answer is yes, but it would be gambling, and it would put a lot of pressure on reserve, because that's a common occurrence throughout the year that changes are made. So it's not like a emergency. It's pretty common kind of occurrence. Reserve is
Okay.
supposed to be designed for the emergency event. I appreciate what you're saying, Tom. I just think that it'd be pretty risky if you did that.
Okay.
Okay. So when we went through the RDIC, we took the 1450, but we also said since they have the $12,500, we were taking the full $2,000 out of the secretary's wages.
All I can say is that the RDIC.
Does everyone remember that discussion?
Yeah, we said that.
Okay. Retirement of debt principal.
Hey, so are we cutting 2,000? Is the cutting 2,000 out of that account?
An additional,
No, total.
total, yeah, total.
$2,000 total out of that account.
Okay. That's what we did. What did you want to do with new growth, Karen? I mean, that's the standard thing, so that should be kind of an automatic.
Yes, but that's on the revenues page versus the expense page. So yes,
We agree with you.
we agree.
Okay.
Okay, so we have the refinancement of debt principal, 39,000.
Like it.
We have the $100,000 of free cash that goes onto the revenues page. We have, okay, so town planner, that's revenue, that's the $5,000 from the planning board and the $2,188 for the health department clerical. So that's revenue.
Yep.
Okay. All right, everybody ready to move down to the new things?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, town administrator, other charges and purchase of service or cuts I'm making in my own department. We're going backwards from what's actually in the budget, so we're going actually backwards, but I looked at what we expended so far and these are the cuts that I'm recommending.
Okay.
Board of Selectmen purchases of services, I looked at that account. We're not,
Hold on.
oh, hold on one second.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any other suggestions for the town administrator cuts?
Yes.
Okay,
I would think that we could possibly save the money on the administrative assistant to the tune of $37,325, which we gotta make up a bunch of money. I don't wanna cut administrative assistants, but unfortunately, it's an extra that has only come into being in the last couple of years. I know Ron's new at it and he could use probably some help with the administrative assistant, but that's not the only one I thought of. So under the account of 129,5120, I think that we should probably consider taking $37,325 out of the administrative assistant, and that would cut him down 22% for a total of 22%. So
Darren,
I'm just not,
here's my comment about that. Do you guys really want to pay me my salary to do all that secretarial work? Because that's what I'll be doing. You'll be paying my salary to do secretarial work, and I won't be able to do town administrator work.
So
That's what you want, you know.
Isn't that an impact statement? Isn't that what that says? We're going to be using a person who makes $120,000+ to be able to do administrative work? Is that effective or
Make that
efficient?
impact statement, but it would be one foolish decision because it'd be crazy to be paying me to do that work. And frankly, it would be a lot more time consuming for me to try to learn how to be a secretary. That's really not something I'm trained in, but whatever. I think it'd be a bit.
put it up there for consideration, and that's because there's a bunch more that I've got, so. We don't have to vote or yay or nay that one at this time. I'm thinking of other places as we go through the.
Does anybody on the committee have any objection to putting that in to see where we get at the bottom? Any objection?
I think we should be at least consider it somewhat.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right.
So, again, I'm trying to understand, is that a cut or not a cut?
We didn't vote anything yet. That's why we don't want to vote as we go. We want to wait to the very end to see where we're at.
If the group says, in my understanding in this room right now, if the group says that they would like to consider it, we'll talk about it. If the group says that we shouldn't consider that at all, we're gonna just move forward and not go with our recommendations. We were all charged with the other night coming up with a bunch of money, trying to find a bunch of money, and I don't know that that's a good idea or a bad idea. Some people aren't gonna like the next ones that we have, but I have to come up with, as of the other night, $471,000. So let's at least go through them and we'll think about, as a group, what direction we'd like to go. Because I understand your comments, Ron, and I understand your feelings, but I think we gotta try to get a whole bunch of money, and we may say we got some other ones here that are better.
Okay, well, okay. So I guess I got a question. At the end of this, are we gonna make decisions tonight as to what cuts so far we're gonna make? Are we gonna get to a point at the end of this meeting where we're gonna make decisions on all of these items?
Yes.
Yes.
Are we going to be
I would
at
say
the
I'm
end
not
of the
sure.
night really looking at
But we gotta
trying to
let
get to a
them
balanced
for
budget?
sure.
Okay,
I mean, that's the idea. We get to a balanced budget. Now, there's a cut here. There's a bunch of recommendations that were made. There's a cut here, but in the end, we're going to have to force feed whatever the difference is between where we are and where the suggested cuts would come from, and that's going to have to come out someplace, something, somehow. So I think we're going to end up making a statement around this is where we think we should be, but at the same time, Ron, I think we're going to need to make sure that the departments, if we have to cut another $250,000 in addition to what we have here, then the department head's going to have to be involved with that, I would think.
Well, let's continue on.
Okay.
Yes.
So does anyone have any cuts for finance committee?
I don't know how you could. I don't think we have.
Any cuts for reserve fund?
No.
Next thing is town accountant. Anything, did anyone cut anything from town accountant?
Do you wanna go by,
Yeah, what?
do we wanna go by,
But I'm trying to get it so that we're going
Oh,
through
on your
these
list there, and then we'll, okay.
so
I'm
that
sorry.
we
Okay.
can, because
understood?
otherwise I'm going up and down, up and down, up and
I got
down.
All right, yep, go ahead.
Board of Assessors, we've already taken out $1,500 out of the salary. And we took out 210524 for the administrative, which is the COLA, I believe. The COLA and the step.
Right.
Does anybody have any other cuts? Okay, treasurer collector. Does anyone have any cuts to treasurer collector?
That's not the town clerk, correct?
That's not the, no, this is treasurer.
All right, this is once, okay.
So I know I was looking at reducing some of the hours for the assistant's salary or however they want to make it work so that we could save some of that money as well. Again, not a popular decision, but we are looking at unprecedented cuts.
So you maybe like reduce our hours and get a savings of 10, 15,000 or something like that.
Yep, so reducing that, by, I don't know, like 15,000. I know it's not popular and I know it's not gonna be something, but we're looking at having to cut from so many different departments. Let me know what you think,
I think we gotta consider it at this point.
okay? Any people say that we shouldn't? Okay. Town council,
None.
town network, town phones, tax title foreclosure,
Ron's got all that, right?
Yeah.
okay?
That's just that, we have money to foreclose on properties. Looking at those numbers, we haven't spent the full amount that she's asked for. I talked to her about it and I feel this is a reasonable cut.
Okay, postage,
No.
machine and paper supplies, town clerk.
Two recommendations, talking to the town clerk, is to cut the supplies. They have a good amount of supplies right now. They felt that they could spend the money this year and they should be okay with supplies for next year. So we cut that, and other charges. She said she felt we could do $250 there.
I'd like to make a recommendation, Madam Chairman,
Certainly,
for consideration.
Yep.
I would like to cut line 161, 5120, the town clerk assistant salary. From last year, it wouldn't be this year's number. As far as, I don't know how that would work, but I'd like to remove that position. So it's either, you tell me, is it the 29 or the 31? I think it's the 29 because we haven't had a budget yet. And we already took the COLAs out of everybody anyway, so I think it's a 29,493
right,
is
so,
what I wrote down.
right, well, it would be the full 31,571. We've already taken the COLAs, but it would be the 29 plus, yeah.
Yes.
So,
So
yep.
I would just keep the COLAs as a separate line. That's how I get to my number.
Yeah, I just added to mine.
Okay, all right, so I'd like to, that for, at least for consideration.
I'm sorry, are you talking about eliminating,
Any discussion?
are you talking about eliminating the whole position?
We're talking about account number 001-161-5120-000.
You're talking about eliminating that position?
Yep,
Well,
Just
that's the same.
that's it's an assistant, and it, just like yours, Ron, it's one of those ones I think that Darren, just speaking out here, would think to consider some of those assistants, we might want to go than a full-time fireman or policeman or whatever, so.
Just out of clarity, in the 4 weeks that Anita's on vacation, sick, out, personal days, you're gonna close the office? Is that your plan?
We didn't say that. We're gonna have to come up with an impact study instead of that.
Those are the only two employees in that department. So if you eliminate the assistant, the office is gonna be closed for all the time that Anita is not working, because there's nobody else there.
So Ron, what we're saying is that if the override fails, this is going to have to happen. I mean, that's just the way it is. If we don't have the money to buy the stuff, pay the salaries, do whatever it is, then whatever these cuts are that we come up with, they can become effective. They're real.
But yeah, I know, that's to say you can't operate the department. You literally will have to close the doors of the department for a considerable amount of time. At least more than a month a year, that department would be closed.
But it becomes the will of the people to decide whether or not that's something that they would be willing to do.
Okay.
I understand the impact that you're saying, and I'm not suggesting that it's not practical. But if we need to be able to put something in front of the town that says, we have a balanced budget. If the override fails, we have a balanced budget. These are things that you're going to end up doing. And one of them is we're going to shut down the office, town clerk's office for a month. Or 6 months, whatever the period of time is.
Through
The
the chair,
impact, they have to understand that.
Yes, go ahead.
Ron has brought up an interesting point. I don't have a problem, maybe if we have to do that because of the hours that we're nervous about, that she wouldn't be there for 4 weeks a year. I think that maybe we could cut that in half and save roughly $15,000 and just save the 15,000 and at least get to the point now that, being that the town administrator brought up a very interesting point, it's something that we should consider.
So let me be honest, there's no way that one person can run all the election processes by herself. It's just impossible. I mean, the elections have to be run. Somebody has to be there. And to imply that you can somehow run that office with one person is, in my mind, impossible. But that, that's up to you guys.
All right, we can, it may not have been a good idea, but I had to come up with some ideas, so I came up with them. So can we at least?
Okay. I get the concept of the ideas here, but I really, I guess I feel kind of strongly, and again, you guys are gonna do what you want, but my cuts that I made, I kind of think we should, none of these are as destructive as some of the cuts I'm hearing. I would prefer that when we.
All respect here, your cuts don't get us to the 471.
No, you're right, but I think.
I have to get there one way or another, and tonight's the night. So I'm gonna propose some things, and if the group doesn't think that's a good idea, they're gonna vote against my recommendation. So I just would like, as we were doing, going through these, put them up for consideration. If people don't like it, Karen can highlight it in her spreadsheet there, and we can talk about it.
Okay.
But to say that, you did the best you could, and you're still $253,000 away.
Yep.
So I have to try to come up with something to do it. And maybe that's not a good one, but I've got plenty of other good ideas that aren't good either. So we got to start somewhere.
So I'm going to make one point, and then I'm going to stop with making any points in terms of that kind of issue. My thought was that we go through, make these cuts that are not nearly as devastating as some of the cuts I'm hearing about tonight. When we get to the 251, frankly, I think at least 200 or more of that should be a recommended cut to the school system. We wouldn't have to make all of that $253,000 cut. So that was the path I was trying to go on, but.
Well, I think we need to go on that path as well. We need to have multiple options in front of us. And one of them is that, unfortunately, that 471 needs to come out of the municipal side of our town in one scenario. Another scenario is that we go back at the schools and reduce that number. But I think what we're trying to lay out on the table here is, what are some of those ugly cuts going to be? And this is where your input is valuable, because Darren had an idea and it would devastate a service. So
maybe we don't do that.
Maybe we don't do that particular idea. We pull back on it a little bit if it has to, but we have to lay out that 471 as the worst case scenario.
All right, so please don't be offended when I explain why I'm disagreeable to a particular cut then, okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Chairman,
Yep.
that it's also, you're right. If these are got to show that we can't get to that 253 or whatever the number is unless we do some of these cuts, because what else is going to make up that sizable portion of funds? And that's going to have to be an argument that I'm assuming what you want to say to try to get the school to go down more,
right.
But what if they don't listen to us? Then we're stuck.
Yep. Okay, let's keep moving.
Okay. The next I have is elections. Does anyone have anything for elections? Board of Registrars? Conservation Commission, Peter has already told us that he can handle the purchase services of the 450, so we have that 450 out.
If I may, I just wanted to make one clarifying point. We want that out of the general fund, and we will fund that through our Wetlands Protection Act
Exactly.
fund. That's, I just want to make.
Yep, that you can fund it, you can fund it through yours, so thank you very much for your help.
You're very welcome.
Okay? The planning board, we took the stipend and we took the COLA from the town planner. Does anybody have anything else?
At the last meeting, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, there was some discussion about what the ramifications would be of getting rid of the town planner altogether. Did I hear that correctly? In that that would be devastating?
I do know that the town planner and the previous town administrator played a very important role in getting us the Harbor Homes project that's going in on the RDIC. He's also in the office, so he's able to assist builders and different people with different projects. So he's able to oversee that every day. Whereas the planning board meets twice a month and they work during the day, so that allows us some of that as well.
The other major issue to that is building would go wild. There's the town planner who makes sure that the town is developed in a way that's beneficial to the town. If you don't have a town planner, building can happen in all kinds of crazy ways. And you can end up looking like Southbridge where the houses are 20 feet apart. I mean, the planner works with the planning commission to develop how the town is actually going to build out over time. If you make that mistake, the future will be disastrous.
Sounds good.
Okay, then we've got the Board of Appeals. Board of Appeals, does anyone have anything for the Board of Appeals? We have agriculture at 250.
Didn't we say to take that?
No, we took that from the historical commission. I'm going to make the recommendation that we take the 250 from agriculture as well.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Okay. Now we go to RDIC, we took the 2,000. And now we've got public building maintenance.
I have two recommendations here. Community center purchase services, reducing that by 1,000. Public safety building purchases services, reducing that by 2,000. We have to maintain our buildings, but this is kind of putting us back to where we were, and they'll have to do the best they can with the money they have.
So why wouldn't we hit more the Woodhouse?
Well, we have a lease with the Woodhouse that the Historical Society gets to use it. Right now, we have a roof that's leaking. It probably is going to cost us 30 or 40 grand to fix.
Okay.
But
This is for purchase services, for public building maintenance.
yeah, I mean, you want to keep the buildings in decent shape. If they fall apart, that asset starts falling apart, and it'll cost us more money in the long term by not maintaining our buildings.
Okay, so the community center, though, you're gonna take 3/4 of what they have.
Thinking, well, I don't know. Let me get a look at the buildings account.
It was 1,500 and you're taking away 1,000.
Community hall purchase services. Community hall purchase services in that account is 50.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
17,500, Karen.
Okay,
Community center?
community center, community center, yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
and then public safety building, purchase services
Put
is,
$2,000 cut for there. I
Okay.
think that actually still increases them by like $1,000 anyway.
okay?
What does that amount to, those cuts, dollar-wise?
Where we are now?
No, just the ones in the building maintenance.
3,000.
$3,000.
I had a number of 10% in my brain, but that may be a crazy number.
Okay. No more crazy than the ones I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay, so the town report, you're recommending getting rid of that?
Well, I'm recommending getting rid of the manual portion of it and putting it in a pamphlet. We could still develop the report. We could still put it on the internet, but it just wouldn't be handed out as a booklet.
Okay,
Nice. Good job.
okay. Now we've got the police.
This first cut is probably the most painful cut here. This is 7 part-time police officers. The union contract calls on, before you can cut a single police officer, that you would reduce, you have to get rid of the part-timers first. This is $45,000 reduction. The chief is thinking that maybe he could keep these people by paying them through his overtime account, but he would have to reduce all of their hours significantly down to be able to keep them on staff. But he thinks, he doesn't like this, he hates this cut, but he says that he would try to use the regular overtime account to try to keep them on so they don't leave, but that's the cut.
Okay. Interestingly enough, that was one that I had found also, Ron. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, there's a,
The overtime wages.
just keep in mind that you're not going to get a full $45,000 savings. So there's going to be a couple of positions that I'm talking about cutting, but you know, for some time you're going to have to pay the unemployment costs for those people. That's at the end of this thing. You're going to be adding back some money for unemployment costs.
Okay,
Okay, so
I also,
I'm sorry.
police overtime, I see that one. That's a good one.
Yep, that's just
And I
a
also,
turn overtime. Yep.
I also thought we should, since we've been cutting assistant staff and everything else, we should consider the police secretary, or I had said down to 20 hours, and that would save us $22,100, 22,090.
Probably more than that.
No, if what I did, Ron, is I took, you can check my math, I took the regular wage, divided it by 52 by 32, then went to 20 hours and came back that way. And
Yeah, let me tell you why it's more than you think. This particular person has been a secretary in town. It's a full-time position. She's been here for a long time and has a very high wage. So if you were to eliminate this position, the person come in at 20 hours a week would be less wage, but it would be very damaging because this person is extremely experienced and a very good quality employee. But that's why
I'm not talking about necessarily eliminating the position, I'm talking about cutting back the hours.
but you
Is
gotta
that possible to do?
You got to remember, if you cut some of these people, they're going to leave. I mean, for instance, this person would probably, my guess is maybe retire, but these people are going to leave. They're not going to just, these people who are dependent upon a weekly salary are not just going to say, okay, you cut my salary in half, I'm going to hang around. It doesn't really work like that. They're going to leave. You can't just automatically
Again,
cut
we
your
get your
salary and expect them to stay.
471,000.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. It was on Marvel.
2209.
Darren, hey, Darren,
Yes, sir.
just a comment is this is a full-time position, but it's paid out of 2 different places. So what Ron said is, I mean, this is a full-time person. If you cut it back, they're not going to say, oh, okay, I'm only going to work half-time.
This person works 4 days a week for the
Okay.
police chief and 1 day a week for the fire chief.
Well, I'm getting to that too. I just don't know what, all right, I just consideration, not that we have to do it. Ron, put a star next to that one. That's one that Ron thinks that we should think about.
okay, Ron, did you find out if we can use the American Rescue Act to pay off the leases?
So I sent you that information today, but there's no update, Karen. They have to wait for the
Yep.
Biden administration to do regulations, and God knows how long that could take. That could take 6 months. I have no idea how long it's going to take the Biden administration to develop regulations for how you could spend that money. But I sent you the link to the website about that today, so you can read it and stuff. But
Yeah,
it's not a lot of good
I
info.
had read that. I guess my only concern would be is because that's a $50,000 cut. That's not going to hurt us because we will be able to use funds to pay that off.
What do you,
So that's-
what 50,000? What do you mean?
For the police cruiser, there's
Oh, yeah.
$48,488 that
Yeah.
if we're able to use American Rescue Funds for, then that's $48,000 that's not gonna hurt anybody. Because
Yeah,
they're
no,
still gonna get it.
yeah, I agree. Although that's the full over many years. But you're right. But I don't know that that can be done yet. So there's nothing that can answer that question, at least until this.
He's on the budget right now.
It's 48, yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know it's over many years, but it's 48 that would come off
Right, it's
the budget
capital.
right now.
I mean, that's the thing,
So,
it's capital.
Right.
So that's the
Right.
thing. I mean, to me, that's a capital purchase, so,
I think Karen's right that we got to consider this, but we can't consider it until we know what we can use the money for, and at this time we have no idea what we can use the money for.
okay? All right,
So I just want to ask a question.
sure.
When I was looking at some of this last night, I was looking at it from a little bit different perspective, and that was with some of these larger departments, the cuts may be devastating, are devastating. Would a better approach be to say you need to cut X% and give that to the chief and say, you make the decision? I don't know the process, if that's a better process or not.
I have percentage numbers next to my things,
So
so we could go that route, but I was merely offering things for consideration, that's all.
Well,
Not-
my whole thing would be, and to your whole thing, Ted, would be is we total up these and we say, okay, police, you're gonna lose 81,697.16.
Which is about
You
a
decide where you wanna take it from. And then they can make the decision. They don't have to do what we do. We just tell them that this is the amount that we found to take from your, and they can decide where they take it from. Does that sound acceptable to everybody?
just a comment. First of all, you got to remember that probably 85% of this budget in place is made up of people. So if you do that, I mean, the way it works in the union contract, you got to remember, mostly all the employees are a union, with the exception of the secretary. That you're gonna have to, if you do that, you're gonna have to lay off people to get the kind of cuts you're talking about. So you're talking about, and again, I put those officers in there. Once you get through those 7 part-timers, after that, you have no choice but to go after the full-timers as well.
Well,
I'm trying to hold off on that.
I think we're trying to hold off on that, and I think that our police chief would know that he wouldn't want to hurt the full timer, so I think he would probably affect other places. So he might not take down to 20 hours the clerical position. He might take more from his purchase services line or supplies line to allow her to still work. I don't know.
Yeah, all I can tell you is that my discussion with him, these are the two. I had asked him quite some time ago to give me a 5% reduction, and these are the numbers he gave me for what he believed the 5% reduction should be. Truthfully, I don't know what's next, because, he hates this fact that we're cutting 7 part-time officers, and that's part of his first 5%. I'd hate to think what the next part's going to be, because I don't think it's a choice. He's going to have to go looking at the full-time police, and
Okay.
I don't
All
know.
right. So next is fire. Holy moly.
All right, on the fire side,
Hold on, let's go through his stuff first and then we'll do everybody else. So the fire part-time. Purchase services. Wow, that's a big chunk of change. Fire supplies. Other charges.
Ooh.
what's the total of that?
10, 20, and 30. Something.
11, 13,
And then replacement equipment.
32.9, I think.
$31.9, unless I did something wrong.
All right, so that's
Probably not.
1%. Because I got 39 in my little thing, and I was at 1.5%, so.
Okay, so was one of yours potentially the The secretary,
Nope.
okay?
I'd like to, it being that the police, thought that it might be okay to lay off the part-timers, I'm thinking that we lay off the part-time firemen and we eliminate the training, and that would roughly bring it down to 39, that would, for consideration, would be 39,000, which would be 1.5. It's, part-time salaries would be more dramatic, but I don't know what you want.
So let me make a couple of comments here, right? The part-timers all are people who fill in on all kinds of things, on ambulance calls and everything else. If you get rid of those part-timers, all of those part-timers, he cut part-time salaries by 10 grand. But if you start cutting those part-timers, you're gonna increase overtime dramatically in that department. Because those guys are going out in ambulances and doing all kinds of work at very, very, very low pay. If you destroy that department by cutting them all out, you'll never get those people to come back and support our fire department. And you're gonna put, in my opinion, you're gonna put, and frankly, even with the part-time police officers, you're putting more people at risk. You're providing less public safety. I'm just gonna state that, and you guys can make your decision. But I think it's a horrible concept. That, but I understand why you're making that cut. But you know, it's very, very hard to build these part-time fire departments that come and support your town at low wages. And once you destroy them, it's going to be very difficult to ever get those guys back.
Ron, so is it the same with the part-timers on the fire department as it is with the police department, that we have to eliminate all of them before we
Well,
look at?
it is true. Yeah, you got to eliminate the part-timers before you get the full-timers. But in the fire department, it's actually worse than that. Because of the SAFER grant, I don't even think you can go after the full-timers without paying back a big penalty to the federal government for the grants they're giving us for the 3 additional officers. So fire is actually, yeah, I don't think you could cut a full-timer if you wanted to, because you'd have to pay back more than the savings would be. So the answer is there's other reasons why you can't go after full-time firemen, period.
I understood.
To the end of the 3-year agreement, you know?
Yep.
So what is the pleasure of the committee in regards to the part-time wages for the fire?
Can I make a comment, Karen?
Certainly.
Okay, you can't cut the part-time wages because the fire department's a part-time fire department. You've got some full-timers there that operate the ambulance, but basically the fire side is a part-time department. If you don't have the part-timers to go to fire calls when there's a major fire call, you're only going to have 1 or 2 people going to a call. It doesn't make any sense. You've got to have part-timers in there in order to fortify the department in addition to running the ambulance. I think one of the things that should be done there is the ambulance charges, the schedule for charges for the ambulance should be looked at to increase those charges.
Yeah, I think they're already maxed out. You can only go up to a certain limit. I think the chief already has them maxed out.
I don't believe that's correct. I think you can go up to whatever you need to go up to because there are a number of towns around that are way higher than we are.
Okay. That's not.
I don't know that. I haven't been into it for quite a while.
That's
but
not
I believe-
all the time. I asked the chief about those fees because that's one of the ways the chiefs raise money, because as you know, those fees are paid for mostly by insurance companies. But there's
Correct.
only a certain amount that insurance companies will pay for an ambulance ride. You can increase the amount all you want. At some point, you know, the insurance companies just aren't going to pay that.
Okay. Well, then, based on I would not, I'm gonna remove that one from consideration
Okay.
for right now. I'll highlight it in my book.
Okay.
I say we stay with Ron's number at this point.
Yeah, Ron's number is good for me.
Okay. We have emergency management.
It's not me.
I have a cut for fire
Not in this pool, we're going-
services for 8,900, fire supplies for $2,000, and fire other charges for $1,000. What's your pleasure on those?
Yeah, all right, put those in. Fire supplies, fire
Yeah,
other charges.
those numbers are what we like.
We all agree.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
Karen, I got a comment
well-
on those. I think some of those
Sure.
could be increased more for a deduction. I mean, I think some of those numbers could be looked at and maybe could get a little more out of them. Not right
Okay.
now, but I'm just saying, keep that in mind, that that's some lookable.
Okay,
Tommy, do you have, with your intimate knowledge of the fire station and being the chief up there for a bunch of years, do you have any numbers you'd like to adjust or consider right now while we're going through trying to hit the 471, sir?
You're on mute. You're on mute, Tom. You're on mute. Tom, you're on mute.
I would look at additional equipment or replacement equipment. I know those are things that there's maintenance, and over the years it's been fought hard for, but maybe some of those things could be cut back quite a bit for 1 year and then get back into it if we can get more money next year. If we can ever get the school to stop going up so high, we could have those back in there.
well, he's cutting 10,000 from the 17 for fire replacement equipment. I know I had similar cuts, but
Where is that? I don't see that.
on his
On his email.
on his sheet, because I'm going through his sheet plus mine, and that's the thing, that's,
I see 10,000 for part-time salaries, 8,900 for purchase services, 2,000 for supplies, and 1,000 for other charges. Oh, I'm sorry, it's down on the bottom. It clicks down. Okay, all right. Well, that's what I was. Okay, I didn't see that line right there, so that is in there. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Okay,
okay. All right, emergency management. Anybody want to make any suggestions on emergency management? Okay. Ambulance.
So most of this, again, is gonna be, ambulance department is mostly all labor costs for the guys who are serving the ambulance.
I think we should consider the ambulance overtime, the overtime.
So again,
So Ron, you can't cut any, I'm listening, but I wanna make my mistake.
yeah, let me speak so you understand. So ambulances,
So you're saying we can't cut ambulance.
so maybe Tom, you can help with this. 85% of the calls to the fire department in today's world are ambulance calls, not fire calls. There's very few fire calls these days with all the fire suppression equipment that's in buildings. If there's a major emergency in the fire department, you call in mutual aid and you bring in departments from all over the area to support on a big structure fire. The ambulance guys that go out, they go out and they, frankly, if you have an overtime call, it's not the end of the world because you're billing the patients and the insurance companies for all those overtime calls. So what if you were to cut and reduce the amount of ambulance time out in the field, you might as well cut your revenue too, because a lot of the money they make from the ambulances is what helps on the revenue side of the budget to fund our entire fire department. So the ambulance calls subsidize the rest of the fire department.
So the ambulance overtime also does that, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, all the salary people, usually when you get overtime is when you get a lot of ambulance calls, right? That's why mostly you go out for overtime is that there's calls and you make money on those calls. So, you know, overtime in the ambulance department is not such a bad thing because you're bringing in revenue to the department. And again, yeah,
I'm good, Karen, we can, I agree with Ron, I'd like to take that one off the table.
Okay. All right, the next one up is building inspector.
so I went through my departments with these supplies, and they had conversations with each inspector, the plumbing inspector, electrical inspector. It's not a lot of money in these departments, but I cut where I could. In building inspector supplies, $500, capital outlay 250, plumbing inspector supplies 338, 200 for other charges.
Hold on, we're still in the building inspector.
Yeah.
We've cut their COLA, and my question would be, I'd like to make the recommendation that we cut the alternates in half.
Well, I think correct me if I'm wrong, but the alternates is money if for some reason the inspector isn't there, that somebody's there to back them up. So I think those inspectors, I think you'd want somebody to do the building inspector if the building inspector was on vacation or something,
Hey,
somebody's got
Ron,
to buildings.
okay, so but if we cut it in half, he'd still be able to get somebody to help him do inspections
It's
while he
not,
was on
yeah.
vacation.
I mean, he's using that money is for, I think, and I didn't spend a lot of time talking to him, to be honest with you, but my understanding of it was this is to back him up when he's on vacation, when he's out. Somebody's got to do the building inspectors, provide safety to the public. So I don't know. I'd hate to have it where building inspections have to be done. There's nobody to do them, but I don't know. And that's a public safety issue in my mind.
All right then.
So isn't the part-time officer, isn't the, but anyway. Okay, so
We won't touch
we
that.
won't touch it.
We're gonna touch something by the end, but
We're gonna have to. There's no two ways about it, but
Aaron,
that's
let me
okay.
just- I don't see why you can't,
Yeah.
why can't you cut that in half right now for just so we can get through this to try to get somewhere? And if he runs into a situation where he needs a fill-in, doesn't this salary and the alternates reflect the income from the permits to offset these numbers?
No, well, one of the things that I gotta find out, because the Board of Selectmen recently voted to increase some of the fees for the building inspector. So I asked the building inspector to try to give me an estimate of what he thinks the revenue might be there. And it's not a big number, but there could be $5 or $6 grand or something in there. He's working on getting that for me. But there are charges, building fees that go into our revenue accounts for that purpose. So it's not in the department, but it's in a separate revenue account.
Well, if I remember correctly, over the last several years, it's their fees basically cover what they're charging. I mean, what they charge for the fees is covering what they get paid, so.
okay.
Well, I'm seeing, what they've used through 228, they've only used half of their alternates, so I'm thinking we're pretty close to safe. I don't know, let me know what you guys think.
There's 4 months left from essentially that would not be in that number, but so it's
We
close.
got $251,000. We still gotta come, big guy.
Dave, does building pick up in springtime, and so would these numbers sort of go up naturally over the next month?
The numbers of the alternate,
Well, of inspections in general, I don't know how they align it.
I haven't seen many alternate inspectors in the last 2 years.
Okay.
It's always been the full-timers that come that I've seen, other than when Willie left recently, then I don't know how that works with this number,
Right.
But
I guess if there's.
Well, what's the pleasure?
I think we could cut some money out of the alternates
All right, so maybe go with, instead of half, we do
do 1,000,
$1,000.
sure.
Okay?
So anything else
Okay.
I also you guys okay with the supplies and the building inspector capital out? You guys okay with those two cuts?
Well, the capital outlay, is it something is this the year that they need to get code books, or are they gonna be able to get something
So thank you.
online?
Thank you for reminding me. That is exactly the issue. And they don't know when the code books are going to be published, but he thinks they'll have enough money to get a code book if he needs it. So he thought it was okay. But he has no idea when they're going to come out with a new code book. Because they only come out every other year or something. And there's no date for that as of now. So he thought it was okay to cut the $250.
There will be. it's been about 4 years since they changed the code, but it's gonna happen anytime, so code book is due on the books. pretty
Okay.
soon.
Because I noticed we had it last year too, and they
They
didn't
didn't
use
use
it,
it right,
so.
because of the state, I just
Yep.
had a meeting today with this guy, and
Okay,
it's coming, it's
Okay.
coming.
all right, so now we have the gas inspector. You didn't cut the gas inspector,
Yeah, he doesn't have much to cut.
Ron?
Yeah, he doesn't have much to cut. That's why he doesn't like some of the other ones have more schooling costs and stuff than he does, and I don't think he even has an alternate or anything significant. So he was the only one I didn't cut in because he had no money to start with. He's got a budget of his salary for 3776, 900 for the alternate. I guess if you wanted to cut that, and gas inspector 350. His whole budget's $5,000. It's like
Yeah, okay.
there just wasn't a cut.
What's everybody's pleasure? Anybody have any cuts for that?
I don't.
Plumbing inspector.
Okay, so in plumbing inspector supplies, I looked at what he's used. I thought we could cut 338. Other charges was 200. That has to do with, we have to provide him for the education stuff and the training. And we got to remember, we also have to pay these guys mileage. They use their own vehicles. So the best I thought we could cut out of that account was $200.
Okay, so we took a third away from the building inspector alternates.
He's actually, it says actual spending, he's actually used that though, right?
No, he's only used half as of February.
Okay, I'm looking at this book here.
Yeah, he's used half.
And
So-
February, it's about half a year's worth.
Right, so it's,
So he's on target.
yeah, but do we want to take a third from the other two? I mean, we're talking small dollars, I get it, but, to be somewhat fair?
You want to cut 300? Is that what you're proposing, Karen?
Nope, okay. Okay, animal control officer.
Well, was that yes or no? Cut 300?
We've taken the COLA,
No,
No,
we're not taking anything out of that alternates.
Where we cut? We're not.
animal control officer, we've taken away the COLA.
What about the
What's that, Ron?
electrical inspector?
Ron had a recommendation.
Animal control officer, 500 from purchase services. She just hasn't spent the money, so I cut it. Other charges, the chief, it's 500. I don't quite remember what that was, but the chief thought both of those cuts could be doable. Not like it, but it's not going to end his world, that's for sure. And I think they have a little small, tiny revolving fund. If they need it, they can use that.
Um, So they haven't used an awful lot of their assistant wages this year.
That's because she's not there. Remember, the proposal for the regular salary was to give that money to her and let her do that additional work. That was the original budget line for the salary line.
But there's $2,441 under assistant wages for animal control officer.
Yeah, did I change that? Is that still in the summary, Karen?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And it reflects like roughly a $3,000 raise in the COLA,
Mhm.
regular salary,
Yeah,
and then
you
there's
gotta put that money on
2441 on these.
Salary. Oh, I didn't take all of it. I took some of it out.
close to the mic, can you
I
see?
left some in.
I'm not logged in.
He's breaking up other people also.
So now that I refresh my memory, we reduced that line item, gave some to the animal control officer and had her do some of the work, but we left in some money for a little bit of part-time help.
Okay, because it says on the summary sheet, it says the assistant wages department request was $1,315. The TA request was $2,441.
I don't remember, that was the. So I have animal assistant salary reduced to 2441 by the department, and you're saying, what did I put it at? Here,
You have 2,441, but you have department request at $1,315.
That's not what I'm looking at, my department request. I don't know where you're getting your department request. My department request says 2,441. That's in the budget that I have. I don't know what you're looking at. You look at your budget book.
I'm looking at the spreadsheet that you sent to me
The
to you.
department budget book has a budget request of $2,441.
Huh?
The budget, yeah, 441.
On both?
There is no TA on this one, just show you what it is. Department request 2441, it says.
Yeah.
Well, on the spreadsheet.
On the
that-
binder,
on
in the
this-
binder, but on the spreadsheet, Ron, that you sent that has the full ledger, that's the one with, that shows the opposite number.
Yeah, I know we were trying to, me and the chief were going back and forth on this account because he wanted to give the animal control officer a significant raise and wanted to take the work away from the part-timer and give it to her. And I'm not exactly sure what the end of that was. I'm surprised if I would have raised the ambulance, the part-time number, because they thought the concept was to cut it. So I'm a little baffled. We should come back and revisit that. Give me a chance to recheck that with the chief, maybe.
I'm just gonna take the difference from the 2,441 and the 1,315. Okay? Okay. Traffic control.
Not a lot there.
Nope, there isn't. Public safety dispatch.
Can't cut it if you wanted to.
Okay. Then I have highway administrator. Already we've taken away the clerical COLA steps as well as the temp clerk COLA steps, whatever it is.
All right, so here's the deal with this. This is a little bit tricky. So the temporary worker there does all the billing for water and sewer. So that, in my opinion, that account should have been in the water sewer enterprise fund. We shouldn't be paying for that temporary clerk in the DPW department if she's doing all sewer water work. So Joe's proposal is to move her where she belongs into the water sewer enterprise account.
Okay.
Reduction of 6,021, and we got to look at benefits too. There may, I don't think there's going to be a benefits, but that's what Joe wants to do there. We shouldn't be subsidizing the water sewer department from the general fund.
I agree.
Okay.
But
Now-
there are charges that come out of that enterprise account to pay for those services now, isn't there?
I'm sorry, say that again, John?
The money that the people, the value of the time that the DPW employees put towards the water and sewer is charged against the water sewer enterprise account. It always has been.
Yeah, you're talking about the indirect funds is what you're talking about. And
That's
there's some, yeah, there's some truth to that. He didn't mention that to me in this discussion.
There's
So
a lot
I
of
don't
truth.
know if that was being
Yeah.
charged back or not.
I guess you gotta see the whole picture to know what's going on there.
Yeah, that one he didn't mention about that because you're right. Whatever work is done from a regular town employee, the money gets reimbursed back through what they call indirect charges. He did not mention that to me in our discussion yesterday. So I'm gonna have to re-ask him about that, but maybe that position wasn't being charged back to the enterprise fund. I'd have to ask him. The other line item there, the next line item there is he's got 3 employees in DPW that are charged half to the DPW and half their salary goes to the enterprise fund for water sewer. He's very short staffed, he believes, in the enterprise fund for employees for water sewer. He thinks he's way understaffed. And in order to save money from the general fund, he's willing to move one of his half-time employees into the enterprise account. You're not going to lose the person. You are going to lose the work in the DPW. And I think he told me he's got like 4 regular employees. So, DPW, every time you cut them, they can do less work. But that's what the 29,474 is, taking that's half the salary, putting that into the enterprise fund.
Who's that? The water and sewer?
Yeah, it's gonna go over to water and sewer enterprise.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So with that, Ron, if that's done, so is there no more help from the highway department to help the water and sewers at that point, or is there still?
They're supposed to do the work that they're budgeted for. So if it's now moved in the enterprise, he's supposed to do the work for the enterprise fund for the water sewer, not do regular DPW work. Although those guys often do plowing work when there's snow in both departments. So, I think that he would still probably use them as a contractor or pay them for some of the snow removal. But that's depending upon what's going on with snow and what's happening. But generally,
Well,
salary and the work has to be done when you lose that employee. Generally, has to be done in the water sewer department.
so I guess my question more accurately is there more than the 29,474 of a highway person that's helping or assisting the water and sewerage at this time?
There's 2 other employees that are working half-time for both. So 2 of those people would still be working half-time for DPW, but this one would no longer be doing half-time. So effectively, DPW is losing a half-time employee, and the water sewer department is going to pick up a half-time employee.
Mr. Walsh. Yep, I'm just trying to figure out if we shouldn't be subsidizing water and sewage from this.
This is not a subsidy.
Right, but we also shouldn't be subsidizing DPW with water and sewer.
Correct, so that, it's a wash.
Right.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, as long as it makes sense. It's just that we're not supposed to just move people over to water and sewer because there's more money there and then move them back, that's.
As long as the work.
We're going to lose the work
Exactly.
in DPW of that employee.
Okay,
That's not a subsidy issue. The clerk, I think, is a subsidy issue, but I don't think the half-time employee is a subsidy issue.
Okay, so,
Overtime and standby is a reduction of 10,000. Does Joe like it? No. It's one of those things. If we got to make cuts, he's got to cut somewhere, and going to try to do whatever he can to control overtime.
okay. Does anybody else have anything for highway administrator?
I got one more. Supplies, $1,000, just to
Yep.
cut the supplies. Seems okay.
So we're looking at this point at
49
11,000, give me a number.
$49,547.16 that has been taken out of the highway administration.
So that's, what, a 6 or 7% cut?
Hold on. 6%.
we had 59 for that snow budget thing.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Okay. Highway construction, we're gonna take $1,000 out of gravel. The
Yeah.
one thing that we hear every year we don't have enough of.
Yeah, except that if you look in the expense line, you'll see that they haven't been spending the amount anyway. So, I said, we're gonna.
That always gets done in the spring. I do know that.
$1,000 of gravel is really 2 dump trucks, not much.
No, but it's
I know.
stuff that we need.
No, they're not spending it now, so.
They will, that one I will tell you gets done in the spring.
No, look at the expense account for the year to date, last year's expense and stuff, you'll see that they didn't spend it their full amount, and this year they're underspending, but you're right, it will get done in spring, but.
Drive down Brittenell Road.
Take it out, take it out.
Yeah, you got that right, Sassolano. Okay,
How about Palmagussit?
well, Palmagusset's not gravel.
Gravel on Palmagussit.
Yeah.
Bottom line, truthfully here, is our highway department is completely underfunded already. Before we start any of these cuts, we
Right.
don't have enough staff in highway department right now, never mind cuts.
We understand that.
We know.
We understand that. Okay, so that's $1,500 out of there.
Yep.
And then we discussed removing the 59.5, which is all the new items out of snow and ice.
Listen, if you do that, what you're gonna do is crush us in the future. The snow and ice, even though you can deficit spend, doesn't mean you should, because you're gonna have to pay the cost of whatever the snow is gonna be. And right now, this year, we have like an $80,000 or $90,000 deficit. All we're gonna do is create a bigger deficit for next year. You know, just 'cause, you know, yeah, you can cut it because you can deficit spend, but it's a dumb cut because we have to pay the bill when it comes due. So we cut 5,000 here, but the more you cut, the more we're gonna be deficit spending in the future. So it's not a good idea.
Well, we have to have a balanced budget, right?
No, but you don't, yes, you have to have a balanced budget, but you can't do things that just screw us up in the future.
I understand, but we're discussing.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
I don't think then that it should not come out of here. That amount should not be bigger. It should stay like he's recommending, yeah. 'Cause we gotta pay it in the other end, so it doesn't make any sense to take it out.
we're already in a deficit. Why would we want to cut more and have a larger deficit? That doesn't make any
Or
sense.
snow and ice and cut people, that'll be better.
What was that, Karen?
Nothing?
Yeah, I think she burped.
Okay. Town garage.
I didn't have any cuts.
Town garage. Town garage.
Town garage. It's 33,750.
I'm gonna go back to that little ditty every year, nobody wants to cut, but there's $37,000 in lights. Why do we continue to put them on if we got $37,000 that's not gonna hurt anybody, the street's gonna be a little darker. I know we're gonna have to pay to shut them off, I know we're gonna do all that, but Ron, what do you know, I mean, the lights, I think is one of those things that is a relatively easy $37,000 if we can realize the whole value that doesn't hurt anybody. Though I don't want the town darker, it's $37,000.
So Darren, I gotta be honest with you, I have no clue where the lights are in town, or where the lights are. I can only say this, that when planning commissions do developments, they usually put lights in areas where they think it improves public safety. A lot of times it's at intersections and places to make sure that the public is safe. People love streetlights, they beg for streetlights everywhere. And the concept is that this makes people safer when they're outside, and it also makes it safer when people are driving, but
Ron, I have to interrupt you for a moment. Tamika, for the minutes, Peter O'Malley had to leave the meeting
Okay,
at
got
7:25.
it.
Okay?
Got it.
Thank you. Okay, sorry about that, Ron, but I had to make sure that got in for the minutes.
no, that's fine. I have no issue with that. But yeah, I don't know. You know, some things, every town in the world offers streetlights, and usually, again, they're putting in places where they really need them for public safety. But I on a personal level, I can't answer that question because I don't even know where the lights are in town. But that's the way it's usually designed.
Okay, Ron, one thing you mentioned, new development, none of the new developments have streetlights in them.
Yeah, they don't usually put them among the normal streets. It's usually like when you enter these subdivisions in key areas is where they do it. But again, I don't know your subdivisions, Tom, so
Right.
I don't want
Maybe
to, I'm making more general comments, so I don't know.
But the only thing I was gonna add, I mean, the streetlights were shut off a number of years ago because we didn't have the money to pay for them. And this is one, I know it's not a good idea, it's terrible, but
Yeah.
if we don't have the money, we don't have the money.
Yeah, and that's true, Tom. I just don't know the ramifications of it, so.
No, I agree with you there also.
Yeah.
I think it's.
I thought I heard someone say the other night that we don't get a dollar for dollar for shutting them off.
Right.
I think it definitely needs consideration. There's plenty of evidence that streetlights don't do all that much to make people happy. From
So-
studies I've read about it, but if, you know,
Can we find
if,
out what the actual savings would be if we shut them all off?
I think we need to find that out, absolutely.
Ron, I'll send an email to you to ask, Mr. Buckley what the cost would be to shut them down.
Yeah, that's fine. And I'd love to give you an answer. I just don't know the answer on that one, you know?
Okay.
Aaron, not only just shutting them off, but what's the ramifications if at some point that we want to, you know, what's the whole picture with considering shutting these off?
It's not a problem.
Yes. Yep. Okay, town garage.
Have nothing.
Okay. Machinery and maintenance.
Nothing.
Fuel,
Right. Fuel.
waste
Thought
disposal.
that-
Waste disposal doesn't have enough in it as it is. We're gonna be deficit spending that one.
Pretty tight.
Okay, so you have Board of Health, so we took the 750 out of salaries and we took out the COLA out of clerical wages. That one's we've done. And so now you're saying to take out purchase services. And supplies.
Yeah, this is based on conversation with Scott Gilroy, the chairman of the Board of Health. Supplies, they've been using the COVID money to replace a lot of supplies, so they're in pretty good shape, and he felt that we could cut $500 from purchase services. I think that's the rabies clinic. They really haven't had anything much with the rabies, so he felt
Oh,
that.
no, rabies is a separate line item.
Let me just see what I cut, I'm sorry. Purchase services, 01.
Did we miss Parks and Fields?
So 10,000 something.
Fields is not an actual department, it's revolving fund.
So we really can't.
We can't touch that. That's the,
Yeah,
go back to that so that everyone understands that.
yeah. I think that was based, Karen, upon looking at what they spent. And I asked Scott, and he said, yeah, 500, but they could survive with a $500 cut.
So I have renamed it is not Parks and Fields because that's not what it is. It's recreation and safe place.
No, it's not, it's not.
And it's the safe place director, the recreation director, donation, of which we took $900 of the 1,000 away.
Got it.
Okay? So those are revolving funds that going in on revenue and coming out on the expense side. I disagree, but because we're gonna have to put them on as a warrant article to approve the revolving funds anyway. Okay? Council on Aging, wow.
Okay, now.
This one is we just hired a recently new layoff.
So we're gonna,
Okay, so again, we recently hired a layoff, an outreach director. It was a position that's been in place. The recommendation here, and this again is not a recommendation of the director, but in order to save money, there's not a hell of a lot. I think the whole budget's like 50-something thousand. This is a cut to that department to 17,190. But again, 6,188 is going to be added at the end of this because you have to pay unemployment for some period of time. Assuming the person doesn't get another job.
wow, that's a large percentage that you took out of Council on Aging.
Well, it's the one position. There really isn't any other place to cut in that department. So if you're going to cut something,
Yeah, but percentage wise, that's pretty big.
well, put it back in again. I mean, I don't have to tell you. It's a position. The question there is,
I
you
mean,
want to cut
I
that?
don't know what the pleasure is, but I know,
know, it cuts in terms of a position of importance. Well, that's good for
I
seniors.
mean,
Not a
I
police.
don't know what the pleasure is of the committee, but we have a large population of senior citizens. We have people that are working, they've been working, both the director and the outreach coordinator have been working a lot during this time to get the seniors what they need. So I get it. I don't think I think as much as we don't want to touch the assistant here or the assistant there, I'm looking at the same thing, that maybe we don't take the whole thing, we take a portion of that.
Yeah, I think that's a lot in one department when
That's
they've
20,
been
that's,
really overworking already.
well, that's, I mean, we didn't hit that much to police, fire, or DPW, and we're hitting 20% to council on aging. That seems, there is a large population here. I get it that we need to cut, but it seems a little heavy.
When you say a portion, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, that's the thing, I gotta look to
Yeah.
see, because I don't remember how many hours and whatnot, but I mean, I know these guys work really, really hard and have worked really, really hard. So it doesn't say how many hours she works, I'm sure we can find that out.
Nancy didn't have a problem with it.
Karen, I think you should leave that in the picture. I mean, that's a reduction that's recommended. Let's leave that in the equation for right now until we see what happens.
Recommended by whom?
Council on Aging.
No,
It's not.
no. This is not a recommendation by anybody. None of these, let me be clear, these are not recommendations by anybody. These are attempts to meet a deficit that we have, but these are not recommendations by anybody. But I'll say this to you, you're gonna cut, a secretary at the police department, the department that provides vital services to the community, and we're gonna leave a outreach director, while very important and very nice, it's not a critical service to the town. So that's why this is different. No, listen, I personally think that the library and the senior center are extremely departments, not vital departments that there and other departments are.
Hey, Ron, you said you had met with department heads and talked to them. Did you talk to Nancy about this one?
Yeah, she doesn't like it any more than the fire police chief likes the 7 police officers we're gonna get rid of. But if you have a choice, think about it. I mean, we're cutting.
No, did you?
We leave this one in?
I didn't hear the answer to.
No, I'm asking, did you talk to Nancy about this?
Yeah, she knows about it. She don't like it, but she knows about it. Yeah. I agree. It's an important service. It's great for seniors, but I couldn't, in my mind, justify cutting 7 police officers and leaving in a outreach director to talk to seniors to coming in and do social activities. As much as seniors are critical and important, but I guess it's a matter of what you think a priority in town is. But I think of town government. I think that police and fire, among everything else, is critical services.
Definitely for consideration right now.
You want me to leave it in, or?
I think we should leave it in.
Okay,
Is this a further cut to the health insurance?
No, this is
Yeah.
what's done.
no,
But
this
it's
is,
up top. Is this another one?
yeah, we will be able to, the 21,
Tuesday, right?
no, this is another
Oh,
one,
this
because
is
of
another-
laying her off, we get to take it out of that, so
So part of Maya's benefit
I
package,
have to write that.
We need the line.
But I have to, so it's not the full 17,190, it's 17,190 plus the 60, less the 6,800. So it's really 10,390 is what we're gonna get.
that's correct.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. Veteran service.
Well,
I don't think we need the other charges.
So, did you guys are okay with the health insurance? You know what that is?
Huh?
No, is
Did
that
you
where we're
understand
at?
What's that?
What'd you say, Ron?
Yeah, I'm trying to, the health insurance.
What
just
did you say?
What that is, that the health insurance is part of Maya's package this year. They're giving, in order to try to keep costs down, they decided to give a 1 month premium holiday to all people who are with Maya. So that's what the 21,431 is.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm gonna recommend that we take out the $500 under other charges for the veteran service officer who may need a mobile phone.
Okay.
I think, not this year.
I thought that was that she's using software from the other towns that she serves to do the veterans benefits. And I thought that that was, if I remember correctly,
What it says here is under account number 001-543-5700-000, other charges. It is for mobile phone to dedicate, so that's what it's all written.
yeah, no, you're right. Let me just say, oh yeah,
Okay. So,
Go ahead.
so
okay, library.
just to wait, just a question here, because I'm trying to understand. You want to take out all of the mileage reimbursement for the veterans agent? So what do you expect when she has to go meet the clients and give veterans benefits? What do you expect? How do you expect her to get paid for that, reimbursed for that?
So it says something about mobile phones
Yeah, well, you
and all
have
that kind of stuff.
you gotta remember, she's a part-time employee of the town, and we have to reach out to her when we get veterans issues. We have to have a way to reach her to be able to provide those services.
It also is that $50 membership fee part of that as well.
Okay, so so you know what?
Let's not consider that one, because it seems that we can't take away someone's mileage.
Nope. But it says mobile phone, that's the reason why,
Right.
because I was like, you don't need the mobile phone, but
But
then,
it's not the charges,
Yep.
I guess, that we can see, so.
Yeah, if she was a regular worker at town hall, I don't think you need the mobile phone, but this is a person who travels through
Sure.
multiple towns, so,
Understood.
okay,
Okay,
that's out, okay.
library.
Oh, where's my, did I back up with that? Where's my library? Oh, all right, I skipped past it. So the only cut that I discussed with the library director here goes back to, again, part-timers, library aides. If we have to cut as much money as we have to cut, do we need library aides? Does the library director like this? Of course not. She don't want any cuts to her department. She wants increases to her department. She knows what we did, and it sucks, and this is what it is. If you want to cut something, that's the place to cut it. She don't want you to cut her full-time staff, that's for sure. And you can't cut her books and stuff because that's all required by the state as to the materials and stuff she buys as part of like a minimum expenditure thing. So that's what we came up with. Again, I don't know why you keep library aides and get rid of part-time police officer, lower firemen's part-timers, but
okay, Ron,
Yep.
Ron, you're saying on your sheet to take out 25,000,
yeah.
but your spreadsheet only has $20,808.
Then we're gonna have to reduce that amount. I think the 25 grand was probably her original request. Let me look at the, you got the spreadsheet in front of you and
Yes,
it
that
says-
was the department request.
All right,
So
the department request, well, she gave me, maybe you gotta remember,
that was the department request.
well, how much? I'm sorry, what was the department
She
request?
asked for 25,000. You recommended 20,808. So when we subtract, we can only take out 20,808.
Okay,
Or for consideration,
cut a few more for consideration? Can I offer up some other, by half?
There's a certain amount of hours.
Do they have to be open? Would that affect the amount of hours they're open if they worked around that? Or can we not take, I don't want to affect the books or anything, but I'd like to cut hours, unfortunately, to make up some extra money. Is that possible?
Are you talking about other than the part?
What you know of the library?
Are you talking about other than the part-timers? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah, could I cut each of their hours in half? And then could they spread their time out over the weeks, the hours that they're open? And do we cover the amount of time and people that we need at the library?
I'm having a hard time finding you, Darren. Let me just ask, because I'm close. So the library aides, they're gone. But then you have a library children's program wages, which is the children's librarian, and the library assistant. What else are you trying to cut? I'm a little confused.
What he's asking is, can the number of hours that the library is open be reduced? There's a formula that the state has based on your population size, if I remember correctly, for how many hours the library needs to be open. What Aaron's asking is, if we cut the number back to that, do you then prorate the cut out of where you take it in various line items?
So I think the full-time people, or the people left, are the library director, the library assistant, and the children's library. You'd be effectively, I guess, cutting their pay. And then the question is, would they stay if you were to cut back their pay? Would they stay in their positions or would they go south? I don't know. In effect, if you cut back the hours, you're going to have to cut back their pay. And I don't know if they would just leave or what they would do.
Okay, but the thing is, but what Darren's trying to say is, they're open 37 hours a week. If we cut the director, the assistant, and the children's librarian, so that each of them shared the 37 hours, and there was only one person there, would that work?
I don't know.
It's tough to run that with one
I
person
don't
on
know
it.
if it would work. I don't know if the state
Maybe
would
not
do
even
it
safe.
with funding, and I don't know if any employees would stay if we just arbitrarily cut their hours. So I guess I don't know the answers to any of those questions.
So, like, we don't cut you more out of the library.
No. I don't
We
think you
can, because the other charges is affected, because you have to then take 19.19%
Right, because that formula.
of that formula grant. It's that library other charge. So,
Formula is adding into the
Yep.
cost.
okay. So there we go. So I just got to do all that so I don't screw this up.
Yeah, I don't think you can run that library with one person.
I don't think so either, but
No. Okay, so I'm just.
I didn't think
I'm
so.
just trying to.
No, I know.
If we, okay, so are we good then?
Karen's just doing a few little.
Yep,
bookkeeping
so that's
things, yeah.
30,659. With that's COLAs, steps, cutting out this, and the appropriate other charges. We've taken the 250 from Historical Commission. We've taken the 39,000 out of retirement of debt principal.
So we have $99,000 COLAs and step raises for all non-union employees in the town
That is
that
correct.
we have not brought up. I'm not sure that we've shared those with Ron. It's not on any
Yeah,
of
well,
the
he was
sheets.
he was writing down the notes. that-
Yeah, but I mean, we have not shared that, but that's not on his sheet.
That's correct.
So if we take Ron, we came up with a number, just so we're on the same page, of approximately $99,000. We're gonna have to go through it. If we took all COLAs, step raises, everything away from non-union employees, we came up with around 99 thousand.
So let me ask you a question, because
If
that number sounds
we
really
so
high.
desired, is that,
That number sounds really, really high to me. So when you say non-union employees.
There was other things in that number. There were other, Ron,
Yeah.
Ron, there were other things in that 99. We took out stipends, we took out more things. That was our first pass. Remember that first day?
So, again, what you're saying is that those.
So that's what's
employees-
in that, so.
And some of those stipends, some of those things are next that I have on my list, but, so I'm gonna just give my opinion again here bluntly, right? So you can only cut the non-union employees that don't have a contract, okay? Which is people like the town planner, I guess, and maybe in theory, the DPW director, the town clerk, the librarian, the community center director, and then some secretaries. You're gonna take away their raises, and all the people that are working right next to them that either are unionized or are non-union, have contracts, are all gonna get their raises. Just want to point out that that is going to create the worst morale possible among those employees. You might potentially lose some of our key employees. I don't know if the town planner is going to sit here and go, okay, everybody around me got a raise, I think I'll stay here. Same thing for DPW director and other positions. I just, of all the cuts we made, this cut bothers me the most because it's so unfair to the way it's structured in terms of, some people get raises, some people don't. And I understand that this is a cut you can make, but you are going to really cause havoc among my staff with this kind of cut because it's just so unfair and they are going to be miserable if you do that to them. So that's something, you guys have a ability to do, but of all the cuts that we talked about, this one bothers me the most. I would truthfully rather have some employee laid off and home and save money and be, miserable at home than having 8 or 9 of my employees walking through town hall bitching and complaining and upset that everybody got raises but them. That morale issue and that attitude issue and trying to keep those employees is going to be unbelievably difficult. So in my opinion, I'd rather lay off people than to make that cut because it's going to create a nightmare. And on top
All
of
right,
it,
Ron, it's getting,
just my comment here. On top
Ron,
of that,
it's getting late. We
on top of
we
that,
understand,
you have those people.
but it's getting late.
On top of that,
I get it. We need to move on.
Yeah.
I have to, because we need to get this done this evening.
Yeah.
This is a very uncomfortable thing. We need to rip the Band-Aid off and get this finished.
Yeah.
Right now, we are looking at a difference. From what I'm seeing on the revenue side, I see a total of 23,263,962 is what the revenue total was. Your TA request was 24,159,665, less what we've cut so far of 733, gets us to 23,426,401.55, which leaves a difference of 162,439.55.
With the 99,
That's everything.
that's everything.
So,
let me make my education comment now, because that's where we're at. So I was explaining, I was in meeting with the other town managers, administrators of all the towns. And I raised the question is, could we vote a lower recommended amount than what the school assessment came in at? So could the finance committee recommend $200,000 or $300,000 less than what they were asking? I was told by all the town administrators and managers that that could not be done, that it had to be a straight up or down vote. With that, I called and talked to Lauren Goldberg,
we put up what we can do,
talked to Lauren Goldberg, who's the county's attorney, about it. She believes, and she's going to give me a legal opinion, that the town, in fact, can vote to recommend less than what the assessment is. So let's say, for example, we recommended in the town meeting voted for an education budget that was $300,000 less than what they gave us as an assessment. If another town,
Ron,
Yep.
what the rule is we have to put forth the budget number that Wachusett gave to us. The town has to vote that up or down at that point. And then we can, or they can amend. We can try to amend it, but we have to put forth the number first.
Yep. That's
You
exactly.
can't just go in with a lower.
Right, you can recommend a lower amount, like I said. The motion could be made for the higher amount and an amendment could come in to put in a lower amount, okay? Let me finish what it's saying. Even if we win and the lower amount comes in, if another one of the 5 towns does not vote to vote down the school district, then forget about our amendment, we have to pay the full amount. If another town just votes it down, our amount doesn't matter to a degree. What it does do is it means that the school committee has to reconsider their assessment and try to come back and make an assessment that we would be happy with. And then we would have to have another town meeting to vote whatever that was, up or down, or amend whatever it was. But that is why I'm trying to get a clear legal opinion from the attorney so that we know exactly what we're doing at town meeting with regard to that school budget. But if it was me, I would be recommending a lower amount than the assessment that they gave us.
We've done that before.
That's
which is what you said.
fine, but
And the motion was put for the full amount and we've amended it and it's gone both ways number of times. So yes.
But in the long run, we still have to have a balanced budget ready in case it passes the way they present it to us.
Well, again, you can have
So-
this whole budget is going to be, the budget we're going to put forward is going to be subject to the $500,000 override with all the cuts that we're going to have to make if the override doesn't go forward.
Right, but let's say the school budget passes, the override fails, we still have to have a balanced budget. So we
Absolutely.
still have to come with a zero number. We can't just sit here and leave it 160,000 shy and say good enough.
Yep. But you're right. You have to come back with,
So I know we don't want to make all these cuts, and I know, this person's hurt and that person shouldn't have it, but it's at the same time, we still are short with all the unfavorable cuts that we're talking about. So I don't know what we're supposed to do here, but we're still supposed to find more money.
But we
Okay.
can go with the recommended budget with the lesser number. It may get voted the other way and then we're really stuck. I understand that, but you can recommend from this finance committee can recommend a budget that's got a lower number.
a lower number. You mean a school budget number, right?
Correct. That the budget we put together,
Yeah,
the
but if it fails, we have to have an answer on the
balanced
floor.
budget may not have the numbers that the floor likes, but that's what we can do.
Now, I'll give you some potentially positive news, but I don't know if it's going to help us, right? So the two potentially positive things is that there was a recent article that came out that the legislature, I guess, 2 of the committees met and they've come out with a higher number of state aid for cities and towns, but they haven't set that up into a spreadsheet that tells us what we would get, what additional funds we would get in state aid. But potentially we might get some. And then the second comment of potential positive and I just have a hard time believing they're going to give regulations in the next month for the American funds that me and Karen have been bouncing back and forth, a series of things we might be able to use that money for that would reduce the costs in our 2022 budget. But again, I'm not sure we're going to have that by the town meeting.
So again, we have to have a number ready that equals zero at the
So
bottom.
we have 162,439.55 left, plus what concerns me, Ron, is I have to add back some of these unemployment costs, correct?
Yeah, let me give you those right now. It's in your spreadsheet.
Yep,
It's for the part-time police officers at 16,000, library aides is 10,000, and outreach director is 6,188, for a total of 32,188 we have to put back in.
okay, so let's see more.
So now we still have to find 190 something roughly.
So the part-time officers, there's 32, or 16, that,
16,
never
yeah.
mind, I got it, I see
Yeah.
it.
That's all in the spreadsheet, Karen, I gave you. It's the last line of the sheet that I gave you.
I Yep.
So we're back up to, if you add those things in that Ron's got there, and you take Ron's, we're at 253. We took another 90.
No, we're at 188,
This
439.
is with everything now.
Note that I also took the last 20 grand of free cash and put it in too.
Right.
So we're still $188.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Karen,
So,
you have these,
$188,000 left to cut.
Karen, can you add all those cuts that are in addition to the cuts that I made into this spreadsheet? So that when we're done, we can give it all to Dan to update the master sheets?
Yes, I have it all on a spreadsheet. So yes, as soon as we get down the 188, 439, 55, then yes, I will be able to send it to you.
Okay.
All right, so what do we do now?
We have to go back and figure
Have
out
to
where
go back and find more.
Yep.
I'm gonna step out just for 2 minutes. Stuff I was gonna do today.
And Ron, did you go back on the revenue side? I mean, that revenue number's firm. There's no more
That revenue-
excise or any of that?
As of right now, that revenue number is completely firm. And unless something changes, the only number that I think we might be able to do a little bit with is we might get a few $1,000s from fees for the building department. But other than that, as far as the town accountant goes and stuff, there's no other recommended changes.
I just find that hard to believe with everybody I know in the car industry and the amount of cars they bought this last year, the excise is flat.
That free cat or that assessment or for new growth is what you're talking about. That comes directly from the assessor, and I can't tell him what to use. He has to look at a number of years and do a calculation as to
I see.
what he.
So that-
It's not my choice. I would love to get a number that's higher, but I can't do that. If you look at the last 2 years, which I did today, because I was thinking about trying to call him up and beg.
I'm talking about motor vehicle excise tax.
Yeah, you're talking about the local taxes. Yeah, that was done by Becky and looking at that number, and they use like an average of a number of years. You got to remember too, you don't know if next year the economy is going to be as good as many people are going to be buying cars next year. So they use like a rolling average for that kind of stuff.
All right.
Yeah, I got to use the restroom. I'll be back.
We gotta cut, guys. We gotta cut. We don't have a choice.
We got to go back.
I just was warned that we have to get what the total is. So we cut the town administrator secretary. She's gonna have to be given to us as to what her unemployment is for that. Because that's not a straight share. So I gotta find out from Ron when he gets back what the percentage is. Well, we can kind of gauge it.
$180,000.
It's a lot. How many, what's the police officers that we cut? 40.
So what do we do? I mean,
Times, so it's gonna be higher, guys.
so the COLA and steps in there that we talked about, that Ron thinks are gonna destroy the town, they're in there.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
Everything we discussed in there, except for the stuff that's in consideration,
no, we did.
like what you just talked about today, consideration, that's not in there, correct?
Right, that is
Okay.
correct. So this is just a guess, guys, so, but it looks like it's like another $1,000 for her.
How much?
Another $1,000 for
For
her unemployment. I could be wrong, and I'm just basing it upon the part-time police officers. It's like
But you mean- You mean coming
81%,
back,
the opposite direction.
but you're still gonna take the number off.
He took the number out, but then I have to add in, it's not a full,
But I thought you said you didn't put that number in there yet, no?
no, I took her out,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, you could base it off the outreach director, Karen.
which is what I did. So it's like 2.81%.
Okay.
And then
So 188, 439. I mean, it's not huge. but
there's only a few places to cut.
Yep.
Pool.
It doesn't do us any good.
I know.
Town clerk, administrative secretary.
Okay, that's the position you're considering. I just want to add
No,
that.
we're just considering how much we should do with that.
Well, keep in mind that that's the person that does all the work for the Board of Selectmen as well, setting up the meetings, setting up the agendas, all of that stuff is that position. So I don't know how the core function of government's gonna work. Are you gonna have me answering telephone calls all day long? And I don't know how you think government's gonna work if you do that, but I'm just telling you, it's just a ludicrous cost.
She's not an administrative assistant. She's an assistant town clerk.
Right. But we need her to keep open the office, otherwise we gotta close the office, which is definitely an option. It's not a good option, but it is an option. We're cutting so many other places too, but
I mean, it's 180,000, we're gonna find a lot more than just that too.
I know. So do we just go now and just say, okay? Further,
I don't know.
do we just say, another 10% on each of the big departments? Not saying it's a good choice, I'm not saying that, but do we just start doing that now? Because at this point, we've gone through each one.
Well, if we,
Couple
if
times.
we can't touch, let's, for point of consideration.
Yep.
If we can't touch the town administrator's secretary or administrative assistant, hear me out.
Okay.
And I can't touch the town clerk, assistant. And there's no other place to go but to go back to the big three in the library.
Two.
Can't touch 5.
Well, there's no more other than personnel cuts he can make. I don't know where else I understand it's not in a good spot. I wanted to cut the part-time firemen and take them out for 39,000. We can't do that.
Right.
So where do I gotta come up with another $188,000.
Yep. And
I think we're gonna have to go to them and say, you're gonna have to cut another 10%. I don't know where else we can go. I mean, at this point here, I don't know how to get there easily.
So, let's see, if we go.
It's already been uneasy.
It's been very uneasy.
Yes, there's no doubt about it. Okay, so if I go up there, let's see, so police was 1259960 plus.
This is where you get to those nasty decisions of, you just want to close the library and just close it and say to people, you know what? We can't operate a library if you're going to cut the funds here. It's nice to have, we all love it. but-
Close the library.
You can't close the library. No, I mean, you physically
We
can't.
cannot legally close the library because every member of the town would no longer be able to borrow from any library anywhere in the state of Massachusetts. Plus, we would have to pay back the library money we got to build the building or something. There's another little piece of that that's ringing in my head.
If we cease to have a library, we would have to pay back the grant money that was used to build the
That's
library.
it. Thank you. I'm like, I just remember there's some money there that we got.
So we can't close the library.
Hey, Ron, you hit your mute button by mistake there.
So I got to be honest with you, I've been killing myself to get us down to where we are. And I'm at a point where I don't know what to do other to really damage important town services here. And I guess we're gonna have to do it, but I've been racking my brain for the last week trying to figure out what the hell to do here. And I've paid every trick I can and redoing debt service and finding insurance costs and everything else. I don't know what else to do. It's without damaging the department, in my mind, you know, the town in big ways. I just don't know where else to go.
I want to ask a question that's probably perhaps best answered by Ron and Karen. Last time we were in a position like this was 08, 09. Does that sound about right? What were the types of things that were done then? I know I was part of the library then, and we drastically had to reduce operating hours, which we've talked about not being popular, but how did that couldn't have solved, got us to a balanced budget. Do you recall, Karen, how, or Ron, what towns you were in? Do you have any idea how they did it back then?
I didn't get on until.
Well, that's exactly what I've been trying to say, you know, and I've been doing this for 25 years, and part of a budget process, they're cutting from even the state budget process. And, you know, I've used everything I know in terms of places to look for cuts, and all that's left is really damaging stuff. And you know, other than saying, hey, you know, we're going to cut more police officers and stuff, because they can't cut the firemen. So you're cutting things that you and all of us agree is just horrible for the town to do. And I'd like to give you some good answer. The cuts I gave you were difficult to even offer to you, but they're nothing compared to the next 200 grand or whatever we got to cut. Keep in mind, let's assume we wanted to cut a police officer, right? The salary's about $50,000. Maybe you get another individual fringe benefits is another maybe 9 grand, right? But if you cut 50,000, you still got to pay 38 or 40% in unemployment costs. So to cut 100 grand, you got to cut almost 3 damn police officers to get 100 grand in savings. That's horrible. But you know, because you got to pay the unemployment costs. That's why I was looking at, you know, positions that are, at least in my mind, less critical. You know, now the person at the senior center and part-time officers. The next set of cuts is, in my mind, just ridiculous. But I understand we have to do it, but I don't.
Ron, we also have to be, but Ron, we have to be at least somewhat caring, although you might not think the outreach is that important. There are people in this town that will think that outreach person is very important. So all of these cuts are important.
And I agree with you, Karen. There's a constituency behind every one of these cuts. You know, you don't think that there's going to be a constituency behind the 6 police officers that we're cutting? It's horrible, and everyone's going to hate it. All I'm saying to you is I don't see any other easy cuts here. The rest of the cuts we have are worse than the cuts we just made.
I think we got to do the worst cuts, and I think that the communication out there showing the townspeople what this means is going to have to stand out so that they know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron?
Yeah.
Can we do across the board 1-day furlough? So everyone works 32 hours a week?
The problem with that is I don't think the union contracts would allow for that. So the answer to the question is I don't think so, Karen, because you got to live by the union contracts. And that there's nothing in the union contracts that allow you to do that.
Okay, how about all the non-union? So that means that the town is no longer open Fridays at all, no phone calls, no nothing. And maybe we have to cut them even back further. I don't know. I'm just trying to throw out ideas.
The answer is you could probably do something like that for the non-union people. The question is how many of them would stay working? If I all of a sudden just said to you, I'm cutting your salary, would you stay your job or would you leave? I don't know.
But Ron, it's not, we understand that, but everybody that we're talking about isn't going to stay. I mean, if you got to find the money. I mean, I know they might not stay, but that's part of the impact statement. That's part of the reason why the people need to know this and vote it so that it doesn't happen. But
I guess
we got to find the money.
I guess I'm looking at the fact that the override doesn't pass and we have to do that stuff.
You can't have it both ways. It's just not going to happen both
Chairman?
ways. Can't make everybody happy and.
Yep, again,
Hello,
Let me just say something.
Karen.
Go ahead, Tom.
Should we,
Yes, Tommy?
should we get together with the school committee, ask the school committee to come to the meeting and try to talk some sense into them? I mean, I don't know what they can, if they can do anything with the numbers that are stacked against them, but I mean, we, in past years, we've had them in front of us during the budget time. We didn't see them this year that I remember.
The
Yes, you did.
school committee
They
has
presented the
voted
budget.
on the budget. The budget has been presented.
No,
The
I
school
understand that.
committee,
We saw the Wachusett presentation. We saw that the Wachusett administration presented. We have talked as a committee in the past to our school representatives and gone over this information with them and try to have them understand our position.
So Tom, just if I could comment to that, I did meet with the school committee members who, in Rutland, that represent Rutland, and I got 3 or 4 of them to vote no.
Ours voted against it.
budget.
Yeah, for it.
But in other towns, I think there was 1 or 2 other votes in all the other towns. But 3 of the 4 Rutland school board members voted no on the budget.
No, I understand. I remember seeing the information. I'm talking about, should we get together with them and go over this with them and show them the numbers we're talking about and get them to advocate more on their committee?
So I showed them the numbers at the $1,095,000 deficit, and they voted no. I don't know what else they could do, but listen, I'm all for talking to anybody you want to try, but like I said, I think they're on our side. I think they just don't have the votes of the school district, of the rest of them.
I understand that, but if they go back
Hey,
again to
Tommy?
their committee, plead the case again, or try to say something, maybe that, I don't know. Well, I don't know.
I understand the frustration, Tommy. I'm right there with you. I'll give you a little hint, Tommy. Even in some of the other towns,
Okay.
they're sending out who the candidates are for school committee in the towns to try to get candidates who are more reasonable in nature to run for the school committee in some of the other towns that we're talking about. That's
okay, we've gotta get back on track here. We've gotta get to the point where we're cutting. So I have to get up early tomorrow morning to go to work, so.
So the only budget that I can see, the 2 budgets that I can see, maybe I'm wrong, are the police,
DPW.
DPW.
Yeah.
Where else can we cut that's the big fish right now?
Okay, so if we hit an additional 10%, very painful, 10% from the police, on top of the cuts we've already given, that's an additional 117,826. Highway administration with a 10% cut on top of what we've already cut, that's another 74,721. Highway construction and maintenance, 10% cut on top of the cuts we've already given is another 7,227. So that gets us there.
So let's go, food for thought.
Yep, nope. Just saying, I just did quick math.
The police, the highway department, we've cut and cut and cut and cut.
Yep.
Years in past.
Yep.
As much as I hate to say how painful this is, and I know where we're gonna go with this, the town planner. It's a bad idea, but how much more can we cut out of the highway department? I shudder to think that it's even coming up here in an idea, but what do we do? I don't think we can ask the highway department to give more. We've cut the bare bones of the police department. We can't, I wanted to cut, there's nothing else we can cut on the fire department. I don't know where we can go. That the town planner is one of those things, regretfully, but it's $70-something thousand.
I don't know where else we go. As bad as it sounds, where else do you go? Or somehow or another, Ron finds a way to chisel more money out of the library. And that's gonna be the fight of all fights, and we might not get federal money, but where else do we go?
Well, we can cut the library. It's not a pleasant thing to do, but we can cut the library. We would have to get a waiver, but we could cut the library some more. But again, that would be hurting stuff.
I think at that point, guys, if you're gonna talk to, you gotta decide which departments.
I agree.
Planner, DPW, police, but I think you bring in those departments one night and talk to them and ask them
Tommy's got-
what the 10%.
I don't know if it's Tommy, if it's Ron.
That's where I'm trying to talk.
Oh.
Okay.
So Karen, suggests this.
Unfortunately, you're breaking up again.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Barely,
Go ahead.
Yes. So,
a little, yeah, now we can, but it's all broken up.
okay, so the town planner, we know that's a fixed number for one person. On top of the town planner, you would still need 10% additional cut to the police department, right?
Yeah.
Do you want me to ask the police chief to bring forward 10% more in cuts? Do you hear me? Are you asking me to ask the police department to bring forward
I think
10% more in cuts?
We're mulling it around.
Yeah, I'm happy to bring them in for that.
Not seeing a way around it.
But that's,
I don't know where else there's any money to,
Well, how
To
much
go.
can we cut from the library and get a waiver?
I have no idea.
Is paint, that's gonna be.
Well,
That's a problem. The big numbers in 3 or 4 departments, and police, fire, and DPW, that's where the money is, but it's not like we have enough to fund them already.
if we took 10% of the library, it's $22,000.
In addition,
In addition to the 30 that we've already taken.
okay. So then you had, police and then DPW was at the 180, so if we took 20 out of that and put it back into police, would that only be like an 8% cut?
Hold on a second, okay. So, Ron,
yep,
out of the DPW, we have custodians, I think we have some custodians.
for what?
Are they part of the union as well?
The ones that go in and clean the buildings, yeah, they're union members, they're regular DPW employees.
So would it,
The answer is,
Who cleans the buildings?
again, would that be cheaper to I don't know, would it be cheaper to contract? I'm not saying that it's the right thing, I'm just
I have no idea.
throwing ideas out.
Depends on what else they do.
How many we got? We got 2 of them, right? It's hard to find them in here.
I think Joe told me he has 4 regular DPW workers left. That's what I think he told me.
I think there's only one custodial position now, but I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, I know it was a woman who did it when I came in because she was cleaning town hall. So I know there was at least one, but I think it's shared kind of part-time by 2 is what I recall. But I don't know because I remember one got really sick and the other one came in to help her, but I don't know if they or both are normally assigned to cleaning or it was just because the one got sick and she came in to back her up.
I took 10% from the library. That's not going to be a pleasant cut. And we go, I mean, that's a huge cut to them,
To who?
the library.
Ambulance, and you can't, what can you cut?
You can't, because if
You
you
can't
cut
cut
that,
I
then
know.
you're,
The regional service.
That's a revenue stream.
right,
The fire department, you can't cut.
right.
You'd have to close the building department 3 days a week.
Well, again, you can cut fire department, you just can't cut
No.
staff, but when you cut it, it damages revenue.
Yes, I understand.
There are 2 custodians. 2 custodians. Okay. So I put the 22 in for the library, regrettably. That's a 21% cut to the library, just so everybody's aware. It's a 21% cut. That's a big chunk of change. Okay.
Guys, at this point, I guess I just ask you, tell me what departments you want me to ask the department heads to cut, and I'll bring forward and.
So
Yeah.
I'm now going to bring up the unpopular of the snow and ice. Because that's $59,000.
Karen, I understand why you want to do that, but all that's going to do is put us in the same damn situation we're in now. We're just passing the buck down the road. We're going to fix this. Let's do it right. Let's just, passing it down the road is just going to bring us.
That's the thing. We're hurting ourselves anyway. So
There isn't a thing we did that's not hurting us down the road.
Yeah, but 120 already, so
I mean,
then we're gonna
So-
just kick it down another 59.
So tell me what you guys think. I mean, I know
We have to, I think we have to find 180,000 at this point.
that's.
We have to have an impact statement about why it's gonna hurt, and I think we gotta find it, and we can look at this book and flip through it like I did the last 10 times, and not one's gonna stand out, so. We gotta find it, we gotta put it down.
Okay. So then we go up to. So now let's see where we're at.
And I hope people see that what the school's doing to this, that's what I hope.
So now we're 106.
It might not work this year, but at least they can see that.
106.
And 106, David George is untouchable, or
No, I haven't touched that one
I
yet.
know, but I mean,
So let's go up and find, I just gotta find that one, that's all.
as much
What
as.
about a reduced hour type thing for him to come in?
He's not gonna do that.
I know he might not do it,
He
but
might
maybe,
not do it,
maybe
but
someone else will come in for the job, whatever, but
right.
reduce the
I
hours
think
of
that
that
would be
position.
better than having nobody, to be honest with you.
To know, having no planner at all, sure.
And it's not a popular thing.
None of it
Is
is.
is it the town planner or the police?
No, and
Or
I'm,
the highway department?
none of us like these cuts, I get it, none of us like these cuts. I just gotta find them, that's all. I don't know these as cold as
I
I
mean, you
was.
gotta go home and explain this.
I know. Thanks.
Is he a contracted employee?
No,
Unfortunately,
Is that gonna raise unemployment also?
yep.
yeah, it's not gonna be a full cut, cause unemployment's gonna be in.
Can somebody tell me what numbers he is?
I thought it was 77.
No, I know, but I
Oh,
need
sorry,
to
the
count
line.
numbers. Count numbers,
My apologies.
because for some reason I keep going by it, but it's getting late.
I can't.
And the numbers all start to blend at this time of night.
Planning board, 0, 1,
He's under planning board?
talking about town planner,
I didn't think he was under planning board, he is?
is it, yeah. Town planner salary,
Oh, yeah, there he is.
he's on the, what do you mean you didn't think he was on the planning board? The husband's on the planning board.
I thought he was on a separate department. Okay,
You're right, it's getting late.
yep. Okay, so Ron, what's the percentage that I have to hold back for unemployment?
38%.
Shine dollars.
38?
Yeah. Unless they get a job, but you don't know, you can't rely on that.
So do we want to, what's the pleasure of the finance committee as to what we want to do?
Half.
Going away.
Huh?
I believe he said he will leave. Which he may.
He might, but.
Listen, with what we're doing everywhere, people are all going to leave because they're going to go, well,
Well,
am I
if
next?
everyone leaves, we're gonna have a lot easier budget next year because we're not gonna pay for anyone.
So,
Somebody would come back in to take a part-time job, we hope, or something. I mean, hopefully it doesn't get to this anyway. Hopefully
We're doing whole amount.
everything gets written.
So then, are we gonna tell, or we're gonna request that the fire department take another little bit, the ambulance take a little bit, and the highway, and the police department can't,
First,
I know. I gotta think of something. Wait, I'm ready to go.
Ron, can we ask town employees to take a voluntary furlough one day? I've been in positions where I've done that, whether it's working for the state or a school.
One day a year, one day a week, what are we talking?
One day a year.
We
I'm
can
not sure
ask
what that
anything. Well, we can
gets
ask
us.
the non-union employees, we can ask them and stuff, but the union, they would probably say no, and we could try to negotiate. The only threat you have of the union employees, if you start laying them off and say, okay, for instance, give back your raises, or we're gonna lay off additional police officers or whatever, but that's a very, very nasty fight. And I don't know what they would do. It might.
So does it become a collective bargaining issue to just throw it on the table, or?
Yeah, just to throw it on the table would become a collective bargaining agreement, yeah.
Okay.
You'd have to get them to agree or negotiate a deal, yeah, you know. You already gave them that contract, so you're asking, essentially what you're asking for is givebacks. And I guess it would have to be, okay, from their perspective, they would have to be losing something big to be willing to give something back, and they may, in the end. In my hometown, I had 5 unions, and I asked them all to take a pay freeze to get back their raises. 4 out of 5 did it, only because I was going to lay off 20 employees. Of course, it was a much bigger than town than we have here. So 4 out of 5 towns do it, and the police basically told me to go pound sand. And once they gave their raises up, I hired back those employees, but it was a out and out war with them to try to get them to do that. Because here's what they're going to say to you guys. Just understand, they're going to say, wait a minute, the reason I'm taking a pay cut is because you want to give all the money to the school teachers? And they're going to go, I don't think so. This is not right. Why should the teachers get raises and you're going to cut us? We're the guys going out in the middle of COVID, and the teachers are sitting home, and you're going to cut my pay so I can give the money to the teachers union? I don't think they're going to like that concept. In fact, I know they're not going to like that concept.
Everybody knows they're not gonna like the topic.
so now we're at 85,248.
We need to find 85,248 more.
But now we can just,
Now we do a percentage on the rest of the departments, I guess.
or I just say, so here's the deal, I haven't touched police, I haven't touched highway. So at that point, do we just say,
You need to
half and
find, yeah.
And that's
50,
getting rid of David
50,
George.
34.
no, that's
No,
getting
that's
half.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe 60, 40. Whose budget's higher, they say?
No, police department's higher.
So 60, 40.
Probably like 70, 30.
I thought I wrote this down. It's $1 million.
I know.
So it's like 50 something thousand from one, right? From
You tell me which one you guys want me to do, because at this point, that's making.
You can
me
split it. You can try to split it.
at this point, it's making me nauseous. So
I
I'm like,
know.
So Ron,
Yep.
we're at about $85,000. in a typical year, when we got around 100,000, we would look and scrub revenues.
There's nothing to do with revenues. I'm not gonna, I mean, you could try to talk to the town accountant, he's gonna tell you you're crazy and he ain't gonna do it. So there's, you can't make up revenues. They're either there or they're not there, and they're not there.
Talk to them.
Okay.
Do we want to just leave it where it's at this point? Do we have to do something else?
What did you just cut to get you down to 85 grand?
Half a Dave George.
What was that? Oh, that's the town planner?
Half of him, we factored back in the unemployment.
Okay, so the town planner you're taking out and
Half
putting
is-
in unemployment.
Well, let's hope my math is as close as I can get.
Are you asking for, and to get you where you are, is that include any cut to police or library or fire or no?
We've already taken another hit out of library. so-
Libraries, yeah.
You did it 10%, the 22 grand in library, so I gotta ask them to, I have to ask the library to find me another 22,000?
Right now?
Yeah.
This is it. So what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna send this out to all of you guys.
Okay.
I'm gonna send it out to everybody. If you could please be so kind as to send it back to me so that Monday morning we can have it in Ron's hands saying that we all agree with these cuts so that he can go to his department heads for the impact statements to be completed by Tuesday.
I need a clear list of what I'm supposed to ask my department heads to do additional cuts.
You will have a clear list. It's all there on the spreadsheet with all of the reductions.
Okay.
So that's what are we gonna figure in the other 80 or just leave it where it is for right now till Tuesday?
Yeah, well, I'll see
Okay.
what, yeah. So,
That sound good, everyone?
does that make sense to everybody?
I mean, I don't know where else we go.
I am out of better ideas at the moment.
Okay,
I wish that we could come to a resolve right at the moment, but I think it's a
so,
I
prickly
just wanna
enough
make
issue.
sure
It
that
deserves
people
some
think we're doing
more.
our job, that's all.
Oh, they're gonna know.
so, I will send this out to you guys. And, the numbers that are highlighted in yellow, like there's the one under the yellow, for the library, it's not gonna come from that line, it's just I needed to put it someplace.
Gotcha.
So, some of this stuff is,
Drastic.
yeah, this is, so Ron, I'm gonna send this out to, the finance committee members. We'll have it back to you by Monday morning for you to get from to give it to the
Departments.
departments.
Yep.
For them to write the impact statements. I'll send you an email tonight to remind you to talk to Joe about the streetlights.
Yep.
That was one of the things.
Yep. So, I'll wait to see what you give me on Monday. If I have any questions, Karen, I'll just call you and get back to you once I see what you got, okay?
Okay,
All right,
all right.
so
So I will take a motion to adjourn if there's no other discussion. Is there any other discussion?
I have a question that I just want to throw out.
Okay.
Ron, have the department heads, what have they not been told they will have for input on this?
So I went through with all my department heads, all the cuts that I brought forward to you tonight. It was a fun meeting, as you might imagine. So they've been told about all of the cuts on this thing. They don't obviously know about anything you guys did. So I think some of them know that you cut all the COLAs for the employees and the steps, that you were planning on doing that. I don't think because there's been no vote, just kind of discussion. But they're aware of everything I proposed. Now, the town planner asked me today if he was cutting. I said, not in my presentation. I don't know what's going to happen because there's still a couple $100,000 we got to cut. So they know of what's going on. They've been a part of everything I've told you. They know about it. Uh, they know that we still have work to do and more cuts. So that's kind of where the department heads are right now. I think they think the cuts that I've already made are nuts,
Well,
and they're going to think even worse when they see other cuts we've made.
we can't stress enough what the impact statements are gonna help them. in
It's,
this.
You know,
Ron, when we're, well, hold on a second. When they're writing an impact statement, I don't want to hear they're losing 7 part-time police officers. We'll be losing 7 part-time police officers. By losing those part-time police officers, we will not be able to backfill when somebody's out on injured leave. We won't be able to do this. We could potentially have this. We
Yeah,
have to
they
hit
know
it
that,
home.
They know that, and that's what I said to them today. I said that they got to get ready to speak on the floor as to the cuts as well. But I'm going to have to do something with the newspaper to try to get this message out before a town meeting.
Yeah,
The department heads are willing to talk to the newspaper to tell them as well. But the public's got to be educated on what a disaster this is going to be for the town if they don't vote for the override. But I got to tell you, I mean, there's selectmen that don't want to vote for this damn override, and I get it. And I tell you, here's the concern is the same even among selectmen, and I understand the frustration because I feel it hugely. Is okay, we do the override this year. Next year the school budget goes, the school system goes out. We want $1 million increase, and then we're right back in the same damn boat. And that's why I'm so frustrated. I can't find a way to figure out how to change the school district.
They've done it before. They'll do it
Yeah, I
again.
just it's just
well,
this
welcome to Rutland, because we've been
process has
sitting here for years with the same problem.
Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of truthfully getting the welcome to Rutland is getting old because this is wrong.
Well,
You got to fix it somehow. If we have to have a meeting of all of our freaking town, all the towns with the school committee and start threatening to pull out of the district to write a new agreement, I think we're coming to the point that that's got to happen. It's got to be an outright war to say to them, either you change the school district and you control spending, or we're going to have to recreate another school district or something because this is just
That wasn't the meeting they had at 1 o'clock, I hope.
I don't know how you guys do this year after year. I mean, I know this is truthfully this is the worst year because we had the $400,000 deficit from last year, which makes us even worse than what it was in the past. So this is a 2-year problem, not a 1-year problem that we're trying to fix in 1 year.
So you were looking for a motion to adjourn?
I was.
I move, we adjourn.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote. Tommy?
Rashalla, aye.
Lucy, aye.
Ross, I.
Purcell, aye.
Narwhal, aye. We're adjourned. Thanks.